Noblemen and magistrates, welcome to the philosophical and political pantheon of all things Forrest Fenn, narrated by the Christian theologian. Let me attempt to do the quote-unquote impossible and delve into WWWH, and the philosophy and logic involved with that. Wow, this is going to be tough. It shouldn't be tough, but it's going to be tough, probably, for me, because I don't go over the stuff enough. Philosophy and logic as much as I should. Now, I had spoken several videos ago that my dad was in the Air Force 30 years as a dentist. That being said, my oldest brother had these books because he loved philosophy and he was so proud of the books. God, these books, 40, 50 years old. They were logic books that I believe was required reading if you were in the Air Force back in the day. And, it was philosophy with the logic. Okay? Now, Fenn was obviously in the Air Force. Did Forrest have to read those logic books? I don't know. I haven't gone through the books, but I wonder if Frege's breakthrough with logic and sense reference was in those books. Okay. Now, what is that guy's name on YouTube? I forgot. The guy from Japan, Mike. I forgot the name of his channel, but look, a lot of these videos, I watched like 5% of them. And he had this video about the home of Brown. I watched like 5 minutes of it. And the problem was he was making all these assumptions. He was saying, well, New Mexico had a lot more prevalence, if you will, of Spanish names. Well, does Mike know that you can do the sense reference with the English language, obviously? Well, he probably subconsciously was wanting to go Frege sense reference because it was, quote-unquote, easier to invoke with the Spanish language with all these different reference points, if you will. I don't believe that was really necessary, okay, for him to do that, but everyone makes assumptions and has to at some point. So what was that other main assumption? Oh, that he wanted to do it close to home. Yeah, so anyway, I stopped after 5 minutes. Not saying it was a bad video at all, but just not, because the thing is, I made a comment just now. The thing is, if you say he's going sense reference, he didn't even say sense reference. I don't even know if he knows that's what he was doing. But if you're going, you're going to make the Spanish translation, if you will, well, that would be a huge advantage to the Spanish population and or those that speak Spanish. So, okay, let me stop the video and go again because we're about to get into some pretty heavy duty stuff. So 1 second. I am speaking again. Let me see. Now, okay. Is there an actual place named Warm Waters? Probably not. So you're dealing with the reference component of sense reference, okay? You're dealing with a reference point, which is a truth value, okay? But everyone wants to know what it is, right? Now, I already lost my train of thought. Knew this was going to be difficult, okay? Well, that's probably what Mike was doing. He's probably going, well, there's another name that means exactly warm waters in the Spanish language. Probably thinking something like that. I stopped at the 5-minute mark, basically. But I don't know. Unfair advantage and not that simple, okay? Let's get into a little sense reference. Investigations into how language interacts with the world are called theories of reference. Gottlieb Frege was an advocate of a mediated reference theory. Frege divided the semantic context of every expression, including sentences, into two components, sense and reference. The sense of a sentence is the thought that it expresses. But watch how tricky this gets. Such a thought is abstract, universal, and objective. So, wow. Sorry, phone went black. So, the sense of a sentence is the thought that it expresses. Such a thought is abstract, universal, and objective. So it's abstract, but it's also objective. No wonder why this is so hard, right? The sense of any I can't say the word right. Sensational expression consists in its contribution to the thought that its embedding sentence expresses. Senses determine reference and are also the modes of presentation of the objects to which expressions refer. Referents are the object in the world that words pick out. The senses of sentences are thoughts, while the referents are truth values, true or false. We want to know, we have our thoughts, right? But we want to know the truth value if we have the right reference point of where warm waters halt, true or false. The referents of sentences embedded in prepositional attitude, ascriptions, and other opaque contexts are their usual senses. So my question to you is, is the truth value based on that we all want with the reference point, if you will, is that truth value based on a temperature or an infinite logic connection, if you will, of sense reference? By the way, Spring Creek was in the book. That's kind of an infinite logic connection, right? Well, what is the truth value? Well, everyone's like, where warm waters halt. You got to understand, though, I'll get into it in a little bit, the warm waters halt and take it in the canyon down. They're together. It's a package deal. That's what made it so difficult. It's a package deal. What is the truth value? You have the truth value when it ties together with take it in the canyon down. Spring Creek into Canyon Creek. Regarding the Canyon Creek, Fenn threw us off by capitalizing Brown, but people didn't think what is not capitalized that should or could be capitalized, if you will. He didn't capitalize Canyon. That's where he got everybody. Figuring out where warm waters halt was obvious, really pretty obvious, that the warm waters halt has to coincide and make sense, no pun intended, with taking in the canyon down. They have to go together, but everyone's like subconsciously tricked because Canyon is not capitalized, but Canyon Creek would be capitalized. If you're talking about a general canyon in nature, you don't capitalize that. That's how he got us. Everyone. Why is Homer Brown capitalized? Yes. People were thinking he was going to trick us and the Homer Brown shouldn't be capitalized. They were thinking it shouldn't be capitalized, but he did it correctly. Brown's Canyon was my Homer Brown. If I'm right, he did it correctly. Brown's Canyon was capitalized. So instead of thinking, he tricked us, no, he did it right. He did that correctly. But where he tricked us was, what did he not capitalize that he should have capitalized? Canyon. If Canyon would have been capitalized, it would have been a lot easier to figure it out. Because the subconscious mistake of having the truth value coincide with the unison, if you will, of beginning where warm waters halt and take it into canyon down, those two going together would have been more effervescent or easier to understand had canyon been capitalized. But hey, this wasn't the easiest thing. Okay? Now, let me stop it again. It's getting difficult. Okay, next thing. Let me select it. The twin Earth experiment is a thought experiment proposed by philosopher Hilary Putnam in his, that was a dude's name, I guess, in his papers Meaning and Reference, 1973, and the meaning of Meaning, 1975. It is meant to serve as an illustration of his argument for semantic externalism, or the view that the meanings of words are not purely psychological. We all want to get psychological with it, right, and figure it out. The twin earth thought experiment was one of three examples that Putnam offered in support of semantic externalism, the other two being what he called the aluminum molybdenum case and the beech elm case. Since the publication of these cases, numerous variations on the thought experiment have been proposed by philosophers. One second. The thought experiment. We begin by supposing that elsewhere in the universe there is a planet exactly like Earth in virtually all aspects, which we refer to as twin Earth. We should also suppose that the relevant surroundings are exactly the same as for Earth. It revolves around a star that appears to be exactly like our sun, and so on. On twin Earth, there is a twin equivalent of every person and thing here on Earth. The one difference between the two planets is that there is no water on twin Earth. In its place, there is a liquid that is superficially identical, but it's chemically different, being composed not of H2O, but rather of some more complicated formula, which we abbreviate as XYZ. The twin Earthlings who refer to their language as English, I'm just joking, as English, call XYZ water. Finally, we set the date of our thought experiment to be several centuries ago, when the residents of Earth and twin Earth would have no means of knowing that the liquids they called water were H2O and XYZ respectively. The experience of people on Earth with water and that of those on twin Earth with XYZ would be identical. Now the question arises, when an Earthling, or Oscar for simplicity's sake, and his twin on twin Earth say water, do they mean the same thing? The twin is also called Oscar on his own planet, of course. Indeed, the inhabitants of that planet call their own planet Earth. For convenience, we refer to this putative planet as twin Earth and extend this naming convention to the objects and people that inhabit it, in this case referring to Oscar's twin as twin Oscar. They are in identical psychological states, with the same thoughts, feelings, etc., yet, at least according to Putnam, when Oscar says water, the term refers to H2O, whereas when twin Oscar says water, it refers to XYZ. The result of this is that the contents of a person's brain are not sufficient to determine the reference of terms they use, as one must also examine the causal history. Again, as one must also examine the causal history that led to this individual acquiring the term. Oscar, for instance, learned the word water in a world filled with H2O, whereas twin Oscar learned water in a world filled with XYZ. This is the essential thesis of semantic externalism. Putnam famously summarized his conclusion with the statement that meaning just ain't in the head. So we had to do research. We had to, if we wanted to figure it out, we didn't have to do it. I didn't really do it because I picked the right general area from the beginning. But you could have seen he got really existential and talked about the rushing waters of the Spring Creek. Well, did people subconsciously not want to do the homework of looking at all the Spring Creeks and figuring out which one had the right causal history and had the strongest logic connections of beginning where warm waters halt and take it in the canyon down? Because if you would have looked at the history, kind of twin Earth experiment, and you would have looked at the history of where warm waters halt and take it in the canyon down, and those two would have had the right logic connection, then that could have been a strong possibility. Okay? So people didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it. Who wanted to look at the Spring Creek? I bet you that wasn't the first Spring Creek I looked at, because I first saw it involved the Bighorn Mountains, but I bet you I saw Spring Creek there, or I probably saw another one somewhere else, but I went right past it because it didn't have the the right logic connection. However, I told you I was never even looking for Spring Creek. I was surveying a map in the south of Lander, you know, and all that area, Sinks Canyon area. Surveying a map. Just came across Spring Creek and I almost missed it. I almost missed it. And I saw a canyon. And I saw it. And I was like, that's it. That's fucking it. And if you don't make that, if you can't make that connection in your mind, my brother, I showed it to him over and over. He could not make the connection. He couldn't do it, even though it was right there and I was trying to convince him of it. You know? Doesn't mean I'm right 100%, but come on, where's the finder, right? Did Forrest think someone could figure this out? Stop it, Bandit. Did he think someone could figure this out? Did he think it was possible? I don't know. He said people had figured out the first two, right? Went right by it. Well, you know, getting metaphysical with the last four lines. It's tough. Listen, I did a video with my friend. He couldn't even see the three rocks. And I was like, look for him. He couldn't find him. I'm telling you, this thing was hard to figure out, man, to get all nine. It was hard. I mean, it wasn't that hard for me, but I just don't know. I just don't know if you could, someone else is going to be able to go first seven lines, strong, Frege sense reference, logic connection with simplicity, if you will, and then the last, towards the very end, I don't know how many, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but then towards the very end you're getting, and then there was more than nine, because towards the very end you're getting metaphysical with the cold-blooded snake bite. And if you are brave and in the sagebrush, which is the same thing as wormwood. So, what I'm trying to tell you, now, Scrapbook 215 was a whole nother ball game in October of last year. But because anybody could have figured that out, because he talked about, by the way, he talked about having the spring insomnal. What's that? The clothing? I can't even say the word. You know what I'm trying to say. Spring. Look it up. Look it up. Spring insomnal. You know, where you got the wardrobe or whatever. So he says spring. Then he says 2 blocks east, where the bank was. And that happened to be basically 2 blocks east was, you know, basically where the treasure was. And then Mary Lou Louise Guadalupe outflowing in a little gushy. I mean, look, I don't think he'd give it away to random people. I think he had it retrieved late last summer, and then he teased me with the October scrapbook of let me know I had someone go get it with the spring ensemble. And then, you know, because that's Spring Creek, and then 2 blocks east is where the 3 rocks were, and then Mary Lou. I mean, it's just all him letting me know. So, I mean, what I'm getting at is, I don't think someone else figured this out. I know I'm 90% sure someone did not figure this out legitimately without overt Scrapbook 215. I'm 90% sure of that because this thing is so hard to figure out. But I am 70% sure he had someone get it late last summer. And if not, I'm 20% sure someone got it in May before the June 1st directive. And then I'm 10% sure some random person that just figured it out from Scrapbook 215 got it either late last year or in May of this year. So again, 70% sure he had someone get it late last summer. 20%, sorry, there's my stomach. 20% sure. What did I say? 70% sure had someone get it late last summer. 20% sure he had someone get it in May. of this year, and then 10% sure some random person got it because of Scrapbook 215. The reason why I'm 70% sure late last summer is because I don't think he would want, because say he put that out in October of last year, Scrapbook 215, before someone could go get it for him, well then it's a whole nother ballgame, because it's so, the whole scrapbook is so overt that I don't think he would take that risk. So I think Scrapbook 215 was trying to tease people that he had already gotten it. I just don't think he thought this thing was solvable, really. I mean, I don't, what I'm getting at is I don't think anybody, I mean, I know this is going to sound arrogant. Someone could definitely figure it out with Scrapbook 215, but before that scrapbook came out, I would say 99% chance that someone would not be able to figure this out. I don't see anybody else able to do what I did. I know that sounds arrogant, but I just don't think he thought it was solvable. I mean, it's really not that hard to figure out, but it is really, because it's different methodologies. And I explained really how complex warm waters halt really is. I mean, it's simple, but it's really a complex thing, kind of. So I don't know, just some thoughts, but yeah, I figured I should get into, where warm waters halt, and kind of have fun going over that. But yeah, I don't think the guy from Japan, Mike, I don't think he's kind of on the right track with the translation of, the reference point, but I just don't know. I just don't think he's right. I could talk about other parts of the poem, but yeah, I mean, godly, what's not, yeah, the big trick was, what's not capitalized that should be, and it should have been Canyon Creek. That should have been capitalized. That's where he got everybody. He made you think it was all about warm waters halt, and that it was not a package deal of warm waters halt and taking in the canyon down and having to do the Twin Earth experiment over and over and over. Had you thought it was Spring Creek. Now, because I had looked a few months ago, I was like, I Googled it, did anybody think that where warm waters halt was Spring Creek? And I believe it was like 2018, a lady by the name, I believe, of Misty, she put that on the internet, that she thought where warm waters halt was Spring Creek. But I mean, that's just the start. That's just, say you have that thought and you figure that out. The problem is, God knows how many Spring Creeks there are. I mean, I probably only ran across 2 or 3 because I just happened to get lucky. But once again, I never even thought that Spring Creek was. I wasn't even looking for Spring Creek. I was just, my history in the stock market. You got to do research. You got to do work. By the way, something my brother totally didn't want to do. He doesn't want to work. He just wanted to go empirical and have a good time, and I get it. He just wanted to go hiking, and he hoped he was going to stumble upon the treasure, even though Fenn has said over and over and over, you can't stumble upon the treasure. He doesn't want to do work. He doesn't want to work. Didn't want to work. So I knew I had to work. I know I had to put in work. It was like the House Husband Diaries. It was the same thing. He loves maps. That means he should have really looked at the maps. He should have did what he loved. People don't want to do the surveying. It wasn't that hard. Fuck. I mean, I thought it was in a Lander area. Let me just look around here on my phone. How hard is that? It's not hard. I mean, but God, if you go in with preconceived notions, that's what makes it so hard. If you go in preconceived notion of, like Misty 2 years ago or whatever, Spring Creek is where warm waters halt. Well, then you really got to look at a lot of the different Spring Creeks. But So if you do that, you got to do a hell of a lot of work. Another thing you can do is just start surveying. Don't go in with preconceived notions like I did, and just start, find a general area, because shit, where are you going to start? I mean, there's nothing really too logical about that. You've got to just find an area that you believe, some luck is involved. You got to find a general area. And I knew Finn liked to get empirical and use his senses, and Lander had I seen the Gypsy's Kiss. Lander had all kinds of empirical stuff. My brother couldn't see it, but it was so obvious right there in front of him. Purple, yellow, flowers over and over. Unbelievable smells, unbelievable fish. I mean, God, what did the guy want? He just wanted to do the empirical thing and just not do the work. He just wanted to not work. He wanted to not work. He just wanted to have fun and do the empirical thing. Well, fuck, guess what? It would have been fun finding the treasure, don't you think? He just couldn't get, he can't get the logic right. He can't get the logic right. But yeah, I mean, I kind of admire him for wanting to have a fun time and wanting to go out and go hiking, and then, go try to stumble upon it. I mean, hell, anything's possible, right? But it's just the reality of the situation is you got to work at stuff. Whatever you do in life, you got to work. You got to put in work. You got to research. So anyway, I thought I would just kind of go over, some of that stuff. But let me see here. Yeah, I mean, look, it's looking more and more like he had someone get the treasure. Because again, I just don't. And if he is upset, well, I made a comment. I go, if he didn't give away the treasure, if he didn't have someone go get the treasure, well, stop pouting, Forrest, because you didn't have to do Scrapbook 215, buddy. If someone found the treasure that you did not want to have found the treasure, because everyone thinks you're upset, you didn't congratulate the guy, stop fucking pouting. You decided to write Scrapbook 215, and you decided to give it away. Fuck all the philosophy, fuck everything. All the research that everybody's done in the last 10 years, all that shit's down the drain. You fucking gave it away. If you didn't have someone go get it, then you gave it away. Stop pouting about it. I'm not really complaining about it. Why are you complaining about it? And why are you pouting about it when you sabotage the whole search thing? All those people that passed away, it's all been tarnished. Okay, so why are you pouting about it, buddy? You didn't have to write Scrapbook 215. This could have been a fun thing, dude. Me and you could have met every single year. I would have driven to meet you. I'm sure you would have wanted to know the guy that found the treasure, and we could have came up with so many ideas. I was going to actually explain it. I was going to admit where I found it. I talked about months ago the responsibility I felt to the forrest fenn community, and this could have been a fun deal for me. Could have been fun for my brother. It could have been fun for you, Forrest. You decided to write Scrapbook 215, and you are pouting about this. That is crazy to me, buddy. If anybody should be pouting, it's me. And I am a little bit, because I'm pouting that you're pouting. So, golly, dude, we've got to accept what we did. I didn't go back and get the treasure. Health stuff. Brother health stuff. I didn't do it. Not making excuses for it, That's just the reality of the situation. You wrote Scrapbook 215. You put it out there. That's the reality of the situation. Or maybe you had someone, maybe someone didn't even find it that you didn't want to find it. Maybe you had someone go get it for you. But then if that's the case, why are you so upset? Why are you so upset about it? Maybe it's the conscience kicking in, huh? But anyway, just disappointing. Just everything's kind of disappointing about it all around. So anyway, I mean, just godly. I mean, you don't want to do any video. Haven't done one video interview since it's been found. So I guess he's not too happy about it. I guess he's just not. Something went wrong. I mean, something happened that wasn't supposed to happen, I guess. So, but I mean, if that's the case, then what the hell is Scrapbook 215 doing out there on the internet? I mean, what the hell is going on with that scrapbook? I mean, why are you upset, dude? I mean, what's wrong? I mean, yeah. So anyway, it's just, I don't know. I mean, you gotta think when he clicked the send button on that scrapbook, you gotta think what was going through his head. I mean, God, just the regret he must feel after doing that. The regret he must feel after clicking send on that scrapbook. I mean, man, oh man, to just tarnish your entire legacy with one click of the mouse. Wow. I mean, just truly hard to comprehend. I'm done rambling, but thought I would go over Warm Water's Halt with y'all. And anyway, maybe we'll get info. We'll talk to you later. Okay guys, out in nature here. You can hear the birds a little bit and the locust. This kind of a theory that, got the dog here too with the cats. Just a little theory that no one's really talking about, in regard to the quote-unquote lawyer, Barbara. Number one, I saw the video, great video. She seems very lucid. And I kind of have a little bit of a theory here. The reason why she may not be talking really about her quote-unquote solve is it may be irrelevant. I have nothing to base this on, but what she may be doing, how do I explain it? God, the dog's running around the yard full speed right now. Unreal. Bandit. Okay, good boy. What she may be doing is, if you listen to her stories about how she says Forrest lied to her in the past, and I made a comment on that video on when it happened in the video, and I think this lady is extremely intelligent, and I think she might have already had her doubts about this kind of being the real deal, or about Forrest knowing someone was close and was going to pick it up for Forrest, that she may be just trying to simply get the information on who quote unquote found it, and even she wants to know if there is information on the finder. So this whole thing could be a smokescreen for her just wanting to figure out who quote unquote found this. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, because what if the judge were to say, okay, you've got to Forrest, you got to give up the information on who found this. And then what if Forrest is like, he can't provide a name, and then God, what would he do? I mean, he's clever, he spends an hour every day in the morning just thinking, he says, in his bed before he does anything. So he would think about a way to figure out what he could do. But what would you do if there was no finder? he would have to admit, he might have to admit the whole thing was kind of a, not that it was a hoax, but he'd have to be like, he'd have to admit that someone picked it up for him. Okay, but then there's a very interesting video called, if he does that, there's an interesting video about the Arizona stuff called the perjury trail. Then he'd have to be careful what he said because of, you know, the perjury stuff. So, I mean, God, what if that's what this lawyer's doing, is trying to, because he seems perfectly lucid to me. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong. She might just be trying to get information. So, anyway, just a little thought there, something to keep in mind. But I believe that is it.